doing the work, doing the work, doing the work, yeah, doing the work, doing the work. Throw a rock, let's do the work. Get the word out, let's do all the work. If they don't accept a hire, leave them in the dirt. We just call that doing the work, doing the work, doing the work, yeah, doing the work, doing the work.
Welcome back again to another edition of NFNC Sunday Rap Session. I am Okoti Tamar, and later I'm going to have Major TV joining me. This is News, Facts, and Comments in conjunction with Major TV. Family, there were so many news stories that came across my desk today. I had a real hard time picking out the ones that really, I think you really going to appreciate and really matters to you. So before I get started on that, I want to let y'all know that because we upload so many stories and we can't do them all on Sunday at 5 in an hour's time, I want y'all to be sure that y'all go to newsfactsandcomments.net, newsfactsnc.net to get all the latest stories that happen throughout the week. And then stay tuned for some commentary that I'll be doing in regards to opinion pieces that come out as well. But because we have so much on our plate today, I'm gonna go ahead and get right into the news. I'm not gonna hold us up. We're gonna talk about politics. We're gonna talk about the justice system. We're gonna talk about entertainers, sports industry. We're gonna talk about a lot today. So, like I said, I won't hold us up. I want to run through these stories, but yet give a detailed analysis on my take on it. And if you have any comments, please comment in the chat, comment below. Let us know how you're feeling about these subjects. Are we off? Should we include other things? Just let us know, and go ahead and hit the like button, please, and thank you. And share the video if you think it's worthy. You think we're going to say something that, somebody might need to hear or be informed of. So, as you can see on my screen, my first story I want to share with you all comes out of Atlanta. And some of you may be aware of this, but I wanted to go ahead and make sure that we really do an in-depth look at it, right? So, Atlanta officer used a taser on a church deacon. Now, this is an elder, a church deacon, after he said he could not breathe. Police video shows. It says here out of Atlanta from the Associated Press News. Atlanta police officer responded to a minor car crash. They deployed a taser on church deacon who disregarded multiple commands to sign a traffic ticket, shocking the man after he repeatedly said he could not breathe. Police body camera shows. I don't really want to show the video because I think that our people have been traumatized too much, and we've seen too much trauma placed upon our people to if we almost becoming desensitized to it. So just hear the words out of my mouth, read along with me, and then for the full article, you go back to newsfactsnc.net, right? So it says here, Johnny Holman Sr. became unresponsive during his arrest late on the night of August 10th and later died. An autopsy determined that the 62-year-old's death was a homicide with heart disease also a contributing factor. And his family has called on prosecutors to charge Officer Karen Kimbrough with murder. An attorney for Kimbrough, who was fired, says the officer acted lawfully. The roughly hour-long video shows Kimbrough arriving at the scene of the crash, gathering information from Holman, the other driver and the passenger from the driver and the passenger before the confrontation. Relatives have said Holman was driving home from a Bible study at his daughter's house and bringing dinner to his wife when he collided with another vehicle while turning across a busy street just west of downtown Atlanta. So he refused to sign a traffic ticket. This what this article is saying, and I just thought that you can refuse. I didn't know that you could be forced to take the ticket. So the officer tased him because he refused to sign the traffic ticket. That would be my question. And of course, the officer that was fired, we have to ask, why was he fired? But he said he was acting lawfully. That's what his attorney is saying, that he was acting lawfully. I don't think it's lawful for you to tase someone for just refusing to sign a traffic ticket. In the video, Holman repeatedly insists the other driver hit him, but otherwise follows Kimbrough's orders to move his car and stay by it. The encounter escalates after Kimbrough tells Holman he failed to turn his white Chevrolet Silverado pickup correctly and was at fault for the crash. Holman immediately begins protesting, saying repeatedly, "I didn't do nothing." Kimbrough tells Holman he can contest the finding in court, but he needs to sign the citation. He also accuses Holman of screaming and repeatedly warns him that he will be jailed if he doesn't sign. Kimbrough's lawyer, Lance LaRusso, said in an email statement Wednesday that before the officer arrived, the other parties in the collision called 911 to report Holman was disorderly and they were concerned for their safety. Okay, so that's what they're going to say. The man was acting violently, and so he had to be tased in order to get him under control, as if he is some type of dog, right? Mr. Holman violently and unlawfully resisted Officers Kimbrough's lawful efforts to arrest him. Wow. So you can be arrested for not signing the traffic ticket? That's interesting. Investigation confirmed Officer Kimbrough deployed his issued taser and used force in a manner consistent with his training in Georgia law. Now, you can read the rest of that story, like I said, on newsfacts.net. But my thing is this. If he tased him and the shock of that tase caused him to go into cardiac arrest, they're immediately saying that the heart disease was also a contributing factor. Well, there's a lot of people walking around with heart disease and they live long lives. We're not going to just glance over the fact that this cop tased him and that caused him to go into cardiac arrest. So that was one news story that came across my desk that I wanted to make y'all aware of. They have no regard for our elders. And even after the man said he couldn't breathe, he continued to tase him. I thought that was just absurd. So I'm going to share my next story with you all. Okay, so there's a report that came out that some believe the death penalty is applied unfairly, shows capital punishments growing in isolation in the U.S. So, in other words, what they're saying is, they're kind of slacking off on the death penalty and giving out the death penalty and also executing individuals because there's a large disparity going on with how the death penalty is administered. So let's just see what they say about who's getting that disparate treatment. Okay, this comes out of Houston, AP News again. More Americans now believe the death penalty, which is undergoing a years-long decline of use and support, is being administered unfairly, a finding that is adding to its growing isolation in the U.S., according to an annual report on capital punishment. But rather, the public's wanting support for the death penalty and the declining number of executions and death sentences will ultimately result in the abolition of capital punishment in the U.S. remains uncertain, experts said. There are some scholars who are optimistic the death penalty will be totally eradicated pretty soon, said Eric Berger, a law professor at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. I think what's more likely is it's going to continue to decline, but I think it's less likely that is in the foreseeable future, it'll totally disappear. So in 2023, there were 24 executions in the U.S., with the final one of the year taking place Thursday in Oklahoma. Additionally, 21 people were sentenced to death in 2023, which was the 9th consecutive year where fewer than 30 people were executed and fewer than 50 people received death sentences, according to the report by the Washington, D.C. based Death Penalty Center. Let's get to the crux of it. Let's see. It says a Gallup poll from October found 50% of Americans believe capital punishment is applied unfairly, compared to 47% who believe it is fairly implemented. Maher said. This was the highest such number since Gallup first began asking about the fairness of the death penalty application in 2000. So, luckily for us, people are trying to not go for the death penalty when we're sitting on these juries. So we're declining that death penalty charge, right, or verdict. At the same time, my thing is this: if this United States of America was supposed to be so-called a Judeo-Christian society, how could we in good conscience as Americans vote for someone to die? You don't have that power. That's a God-given, that's a God's power. That's power of the Most High, right? So anytime you take someone's life, you're acting beyond your means. And I say for a long time, I've been on in disagreement with the death penalty. If someone takes another person's life, I would see life in jail, life in prison, a life sentence. But to take someone else's life, I would not want to have that on my conscience, especially, especially when it's a matter of self-defense, as with our brother Otho Wallace. He was facing the death penalty, and he was acted out of total self-defense. And so luckily that jury was smart enough to say that, hey, no, this gentleman do not deserve the first degree death penalty charge. So all praises to the Most High for that. So moving on to the next story. Let me clear this ad out the way here. We're going to talk about this Black veteran that was arrested after calling 911. Now he's filing a $10 million lawsuit against the Los Angeles Police Department in the city of Los Angeles. So let's see what this is all about. Judge Ma'am Usi Mensa Frimpong, I hope I pronounced that correctly, rejected an appeal from LAPD lawyers last month to dismiss the case, ruling that officers Jeremy Wheeler and Jeffrey Yabana are not entitled to qualified immunity for unconstitutional detention, excessive force, retaliation, violation of due process, violation of American with Disabilities Act, violation of Ban Act, battery, false arrest, and imprisonment, as well as negligence, and that the city is vicariously liable for the officer's actions during the illegal arrest of Douglas. So here we go, another illegal arrest with a slew of civil rights violations, that excessive use of force, illegal detainment. Yeah, they're doing the most in our judicial system, especially these law enforcement agents. So Here we go. Wheeler told Douglas the worst thing Douglas could do was make a 911 call right in front of the officers. And he also stated what Douglas did was against the law. Judge Uwisa Manessa Frompron states it is also undisputed that Wheeler stated multiple times that the detention was in due to the engagement in a protected activity. Additionally, she states a jury could find that Douglas was detained for engaging in a constitutional protected activity. Judge Frempong concludes no reasonable officer could believe that there was probable cause for the detention. Got to have probable cause to detain us in this hour. The case stems from a 2019 incident in which officers falsely arrested veterans advocate Slade Douglas, 46, inside his Los Angeles home after reportedly receiving a call for a wellness check. Upon arriving and entering Douglas' home with his consent, records show that Douglas refuted the unwarranted retaliatory welfare check, which was based on the malicious false suicidal allegations against him by the Veterans Affairs Crisis Line. Wow. Okay, body camera footage once sealed under a protective order has now exposed Los Angeles Police Department officers' unauthorized searches in their unlawful seizure of Douglas, employing threats and force. Following the arrest, Douglas sat in a patrol car handcuffed for nearly a half an hour, complaining about his pain. Officers could be heard laughing and making jokes about Douglas's statements regarding his disability and dismissing his request for reasonable accommodation. The video also captures a paramedic advising the officers, take him to the hospital. You need to clear him. That way it takes all the liability off of you guys. Takes it off the city. Next, Douglas was double cuffed, placed on a gurney, and illegally taken and carried away by ambulance to Good Samaritan Hospital in Los Angeles, California. According to Douglas's sworn deposition, he stated that officers told the nurse, Ricky, they needed to find something in Douglas's system to justify his arrest. Ricky agreed to do this and then ejected Douglas without his consent. At the hospital, records indicate that Douglas was forcibly injected multiple times while still double cuffed to a gurney. Then, while unconscious from the drugging, he was placed in leather restraints, spread eagle by his arms and ankles in what was described as a torture chamber apparatus. He was subjected to invasive procedures during which his genitals were both touched and grasped. A foreign object catheter was forcibly inserted into his penis, and he was threatened with the administration of additional drugs by injection with the intent of extracting information. This reported abuse persisted for over 8 hours. So the actions of the officers think that he was going to get away with this. So the actions of the officers and medical staff are alleged to have violated federal statutes concerning conspiracies against rights, abuses under the color of law, and federally protected activities. Yeah, for damn sure. Judge Frempong also stated the purpose of the welfare check is for the benefit of the individual at issue, not because they are under suspicion of any crime. The defendants concede that Douglas was engaged in protected speech when he contacted 911 in their presence, deeming it unconstitutional to evoke probable cause to take someone into custody under WIC 5150. The court notes that these officers were apparently aware of this legal standard, further undermining their request for qualified immunity, the judge wrote. So, yeah, they are going down for this one. They admitted to violating this man's constitutional rights. They came into his home and forcibly arrested him and took him to the hospital and then injected him with some drugs to justify them taking him to the hospital. I don't know about you, family, but I think that's a miscarriage of justice right there. Like, what do y'all think? Do y'all think that they should go to jail, and for how long? Should they get more than 30 years for violating all those civil rights that they did? Y'all let me know. I think that they're just doing the most, and then trying to cry immunity when they shouldn't have immunity. Like, I'm glad that judge ruled the way that she did. So he's gonna have to meet his peers. So, speaking of the characterization of justice, this is an AP exclusive report, and they interviewed America's Black attorney generals. Now, if you don't know, there has been an uptick in AGs across attorney generals, Black attorney generals across the nation. Many states now have Black attorney generals. So they sat down with AP to discuss race, politics, and the justice system. Once again, to read the full articles on these and to be able to share the articles with others, please go to newsfactsnc.net. All of these stories that I'm sharing with you now are on the website. Please share and subscribe to the website as well, so you can get up to date news articles as we publish them. Okay, so here this news article was published December 1st. The American legal system is facing a crisis in trust in communities around the country, with people of all races and across the political spectrum. Well, with behaviors such as what we just talked about, I wouldn't trust the police either. You're supposed to be doing a welfare check, and you coming in and arresting people. That's bogus, man. They're doing the most. So, for many, recent protests against police brutality called attention to long-standing discrepancies in the administration of justice. For others, criticism of perceived conflict of interest in the judiciary, as well as aspirations cast by former President Donald Trump and others on the independence of judges and the law enforcement, have further damaged faith in the rule of law among broad swaths of the public. It doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump, and it doesn't have anything to do with perceived conflicts. It's not perceived when the judges and the prosecutors and police are working in cahoots with each other. If y'all don't know, and even sometimes public defenders, they all see each other on a regular basis. They are very familiar with one another. Some of them on a first name basis when they outside of the courtroom. So it's not perceived conflicts. It is a conflict of interest when the judge is buddy with the DA, or a judge is buddy with the police officer, with the arresting police officer. And when the police officers and the prosecutors and the defense attorneys, the court-appointed defense attorneys, or public defenders are friends. That is a conflict. It's not perceived, right? It is fact. That's a conflict. So, and as far as the independence of judges, they're too damn independent. In my opinion, they have too much discretion. And when deciding, with passing down sentences and whatnot, and deciding which cases they're gonna hear and which cases they're not gonna hear, it's too much discretion. I think there should be a standard across the board. So, continuing with the article. Yet many Black attorneys understood the disparate impact the legal system can have on different communities long before 2020 protests following the murder of George Floyd at the hands of police. Many pursued legal careers and entered that same system to improve it, and some rising to one of the most influential roles, the top enforcement officer, top enforcement official, which is the Attorney General. So let's just move down and see what some of these attorney generals said. It says here, let's see, the Associated Press spoke with 6 sitting Black attorney generals about their views on racial equity, public safety, police accountability, and protecting democratic institutions. While their worldviews and strategies sometimes clash, the group felt united in a mission to better a system they all agreed too often failed the people it served. Well, they're protecting this democratic system a little bit too much and disregarding the rights of the individuals, particularly those in the Black community. Um, in that same moment of this increased representation by U.S. Attorney Generals, the U.S. is gripped by intense debates regarding justice, race, and democracy. Black prosecutors have emerged as central figures litigating those issues, highlighting the achievements and limits of Black communal efforts to reform the justice system. So, what exactly did they say? So one attorney general said, "I love Matt, and I thought I was going to become an accountant. Clearly, that went a different direction as life happened," said Andrea Campbell, the attorney general of Massachusetts. She soon began a career providing legal aid in her community because most of my children was entangled with the criminal legal system. Anthony Brown and Kwame Raoul learned from their fathers, who were both physicians in Caribbean immigrants. Raoul, now the Attorney General of Illinois, said he learned to never forget where you came from and never forget the struggles that others go through. Brown's father drew satisfaction from knowing that he made a difference in people's lives and taught him the importance of public service. He says, "I saw that every day as a kid growing up," said Brown. A retired Army colonel, now serving as Attorney General of Maryland. And of course, we all know Letitia James of New York. She's currently prosecuting the lead prosecutor in the case against Donald Trump. She said she came from a humble beginnings and was shaped by those who know struggle, pain, loss, but also perseverance. Aaron Ford, the Attorney General of Nevada, attributed his achievements because the government helped in a time of need to get to his next level. Wonder how the government helped him. Not quite sure, but we're gonna go ahead and continue. And Keith Elliott, the Attorney General of Minnesota, was raised on stories of his grandparents organizing Black voters in Louisiana at the height of Jim Crow, when they endured bomb threats and a burned cross at their home. So, unlike people like what's her name? She was Attorney General. The VP, Kamala Harris, she was an Attorney General too. But I doubt if she had some of these experiences that these current current AGs in these states have experienced, and hopefully they're going to lean on that, and like the one gentleman said, not forget where he came from and understand the trouble and the struggle that Blacks have had throughout the centuries in regards to the judicial system. So here's a good story right here. Mississippi Supreme Court delays decision on whether to set execution date for a man on death row. So we just learned about how it's the cases of people actually being executed is dwindling, and here's one man whose execution was delayed in Mississippi. All right. Jackson, Mississippi. The Mississippi Supreme Court has temporarily delayed ruling on whether to set an execution date for a man on death row for capital murder. The state Supreme Court ruled Thursday that the Mississippi Attorney General's motion to lift a stay and set an execution date for Willie Jerome Manning, 55, would be held in abeyance until the court rules on Manning's petition for post-conviction relief. Manning was convicted in 1994 on 2 counts of capital murder in 1992, in the 1992 killing of Mississippi State University students John Stickler and Tiffany Miller. The bodies of Stickler and Miller were found in rural Akauchiba County, and Miller's car was missing. The car was found the next morning. Prosecutors said Manning was arrested after he tried to sell items belonging to the victims. Manning has maintained his innocence and sought to have evidence in his case re-examined. So did they pin the murders on this gentleman because maybe he found the car and tried to sell the items of the victims? And so he's saying he didn't do it. And the judge is saying, yeah, I think we might want to re-examine this. but the prosecutor, attorney general, wants him to die, wants to execute him for those crimes. So there is an opinion piece that came out in regards to reconciliation in the Deep South, speaking of Jackson, Mississippi, in their quest to try and convict people of color on a whim, most times, without examining the evidence. So this opinion piece came through Newsweek, and I found it very interesting. It says, learning the truth and reconciling the past in the Deep South. Can we reconcile the past? Can there be some type of reconciliation? I know some might say we gonna get reconciliation when they pay us reparations. So let's look and see what this opinion piece had to say. Looking out through the Dick summer air at the fields of Whitney Plantation Museum, tucked away on the banks of the Mississippi River outside of New Orleans, we could imagine more than 100 enslaved people picking indigo and cotton under the unrelenting sun. Etched on the black stone in front of us were personal accounts of these men, women, and children who were forced to labor to their deaths. Along the dirt path that lines the fields are cabins that house enslaved people. They were not dissimilar from the 3 wooden shanties that lined the driveway of our family home in Fort Mill, South Carolina, where our grandparents cooked, chauffeured, and chauffeured sons lived. The grounds of the white homestead owned by family for generations is where we grew up. Our grandparents lived in a classic Southern big house, and we lived in another home on the property. Our grandparents' house had amazing artifacts. They go on to talk about the shelves and you know how they had a signed copy of the secession of the Declaration in the house, and so they're witnessing all these things, and they talk about the book. They say what those books did not tell us was the truth about slavery, its brutality, and our family's part in it. To us, our family history stopped and started with our grandfather. He was a World War I hero, an author, and had taken a mill owned by his father and turned into a textile empire. So now you can see where this is going. This is an opinion piece from an individual whose families own slaves. It was never discussed that the textile business was started with profits from enslaved labor, nor that our ancestors had a prominent role in the slave trade. For 30 years, our great-great-great-great-grandfather, John Springs III, would travel annually to Maryland or Virginia to purchase 40 human beings at a time, separating them from their families and marching them south in chains and ropes. So now that this family has learned of their history, this is what they're trying to do to repair some things. For us, the benefits of slavery have not ended. They're a very real part of our day-to-day lives. The institution of slavery also allows us to have high incomes without having to work. It also allows us the luxury of feeling secure in our lives. In contrast, the descendants of the people owned by our ancestors have had the opposite experience. Many experience poverty, and all experience structural racism, especially those in the South. Once we learn how our family's participation in the enslaving of people directly and literally enriches our present, we asked ourselves, what do we do as a result of this knowledge? Our family has a long history of philanthropy and investments in Fort Mill. We have done and are doing a great deal of good for our community. However, we recognize the harm not only of our past history, but the ongoing harm, our wealth that has been taken from others. We studied the guidance of the ACLU of Louisiana, the arc of slavery to mass incarceration and racist policing overlaid our family history onto that arc. and design a pilot program that will allow us to begin to create our version of reparations. We have benefited from the legacy of slavery, so we decided to help those who have been hurt by the same legacy. And there's a picture of the two, Buck and Gracie Close, and genealogist Cora Lyles there in Louisiana, going through some archives. So, family, that brings us to the topic of our special report that Major and I did on yesterday, where we explored the topic of anti-blackness. What does it? What does anti-blackness mean? And should others, make amends for it, just as that couple did in that article? So I'm going to play um, a couple of minutes of the special report we did on yesterday. And if you haven't seen it, please go over to Major TV Let's Talk, or go over to Cody Speaks News Facts and Comments on YouTube to view the video in its entirety. It's a 29-minute video, so go ahead and take a look at it in its entirety, and please leave your comments on this video, as you're going to hear what we had to say briefly about the video.
Right. So, and also at the time, there was government policies and procedures, government sanction policies and procedures that help to keep white people elevated in status in society. We learn about other people from media, from society, from education, from our families.
Right.
And Black people are overrepresented in the media as being violent, as being drug addicts, as being criminals. And so we're learning to associate Black people in that way.
Right.
Just like, what do you think about, what do you associate peanut butter with? What's the first thing? Peanut butter and? That's subconscious. We're not thinking about that. We're subconsciously associating Black people with being violent. We don't break bread with Black people on a large scale in the Indian community.
Right.
And so we go off these stereotypes, these biases that we don't even know that we have.
Yeah.
And so that we have these ideas about Black people that perpetuate anti-Blackness.
Yeah, I was just thinking about
we're gonna stop right there with that. Before I let you chime in, I just want to say why I really considered sharing it, because in our community, a lot of things they talk about, we know we have talked about it, right? To hear from another melanated ethnic group, and they're from India, right, which also is associated with Asian, what have you. When you hear groups talking about stuff like this and bringing awareness to their community, the general public, is beautiful, because whether we want to recognize it or not, there's a lot of evil and a lot of badness that's out there, right? And spiritual, a lot of us are disconnected because of a lot of things she talked about. A lot of our perception, whether it's spiritual, whether it's mental, emotional, what have you, even information that comes out of our mouth, if it's not proper research, it's stuff that we get from the media, the general public, the government, so forth, more. And for to have them speak the way they speak, and they look like they're young, and both of them have well, I know the sister that was talking, I think she is an expert in talking about diversity and whatnot. But the other lady, I think it's Sindhu Thomas George, I don't know that's her name, but it's the name of her platform. She been pushing anti-blackness for a minute, right? And there's more I want to say. I'm gonna let you come in, but I just was kind of touched by the idea that, it's not just us talking. And I know I've heard several white people speak out against it, but I want to get your feedback and take on it. Right.
Yeah, it is definitely a breath of fresh air to know that the other nations are considering the plight of so-called Black people in America, and the fact that she really knows our history, from slavery to Jim Crow to civil rights movement. I think that's a good thing that they have researched before they actually got online and started speaking from a point of ignorance. So yeah, shouts out to them for coming to the forefront and wanting to share what they know and how they really feel. So yeah, it's a breath of fresh air.
And
so for more on that video, family, please go to our YouTube channels, Major TV Let's Talk, Cody Speaks, as well as News Facts and Comments to see the full video. I appreciate you guys watching the video, giving it a thumbs up and sharing it, because it is very important that we recognize that they're recognizing, but at the same time, do not let that be the end all to it. You continue to do what you have to do to better your life and the lives of your your family. So I thought I had Major in the building to come in and chime in, but I think he must have left. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Wanted him to give his take on that commentary, but I think he might have had to bounce out. All right, so we're gonna just go ahead and move right along to the next story then. So as you know, we still got that war, the so-called war going on over there in Palestine and the Gaza Strip. And so apparently the Pope has made some comments in regards to how Israel, the IDF, is proceeding with their attack on the Gaza Strip. And now the Jewish community is giving him major pushback and asking him to scale back or to clarify his comments that he made in regards to Israel being terrorists. So just briefly here, Jewish groups are criticizing Pope Francis for appearing to accuse both Israel and Hamas of terrorism in their ongoing war that started October 7th. This is what wars do, the Pope said at his general audience in St. Peter's Square on Wednesday. But here we have gone beyond war. This is not war. This is terrorism. Francis' comments follow separate meetings with Jewish relatives of hostage held by Hamas and Palestinians with family in Gaza on Wednesday. His remarks come a month after he called on Hamas to free the hostages being held in Gaza, and weeks after calling for a ceasefire and for more Palestinian aid. So to read more on that story, once again, go to newsfactsnc.net to read the entire article. But guess what? It continues. It's like it's a cancer that has spread across America, because even out there in Oakland, California, City Hall has been slammed for not condemning Hamas and not calling Hamas terrorists, a terrorist group. They wanted to insert this language in some type of vote that they passed, some type of bill or act or whatever they had on the table to vote for. And one of the council members wanted to insert that Hamas were terrorists, or Hamas that Oakland needed to condemn Hamas, and the councils refused to add that language to whatever it is that they were voting on, and that sparked a lot of controversy, even having the governor Newsom chime in on why he thinks that Oakland City Council was not being supportive of Israel and actually supporting Hamas instead of the Palestinian people. They say that they were supporting Hamas. The council in California Bay Area City voted 8-0 in favor of a motion supporting a congressional resolution for a permanent ceasefire, along with the unrestricted entry of humanitarian assistance into Gaza and a restoration of basic services, as well, respect for international law, and the release of all hostages. Before the vote, the council voted 6-2 to reject proposed amendments by member Dan Caleb that specifically condemned killings and hostage taking by Hamas, whose October 7 attacks in Israel prompted the war that was devastated in Gaza. The motion was met by boos and angry shouts from the packed chamber. Caleb later went on to the vote with the majority, noting that that the unchanged resolution also didn't mention Israel. So here's you see a post from X, formerly known as used to be Twitter, Last night in Oakland, council voted on a resolution to call for a ceasefire. The city council tried to insert language condemning Hamas. This was the reaction.
There's not been beheadings of babies and rapings. Israel murdered their own people on October 7th.
The terrorist organization is ridiculous, racist, and plays into genocidal propaganda that is flooding our media and that we should be doing everything possible to combat.
I support the right of Palestinians to resist occupation, including through Hamas, the armed wing of the unified Palestinian resistance.
As an Arab, asking with this context to condemn Hamas is very anti-Arab racist.
The notion that this was a massacre of Jews is a fabricated narrative. Many of those killed on October 7th,
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
including children, were killed by the IDF. An amendment condemning Hamas is bald propaganda meant to...
Thank you. Your time is up.
To hear them complain about Hamas violence is like listening to a wife beater complain when his wife finally stands up and fights back.
Question. Did anyone else notice that those who oppose this resolution are old white supremacists?
There's been a lot of atrocity propaganda ranging from claims of beheaded babies to mass rape.
Hamas is not a terrorist organization just because the U.S. and Israel deems it so. Hamas is a resistance organization that is fighting for the liberation of Palestinian people and their land.
So there you have it. That's what all the fuss was about, because the people were outraged into saying that, no, we're not going to just go along, get along and say that Hamas is a terrorist organization just because Israel and the United States and some other countries deem to be terrorists when they're actually the political party that's ruling over that country right now. So it also prompted a well-known activist, Seneca Scott. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's been an activist out there in Oakland for a long time. He actually ran for mayor and was defeated, but he's had his foot on their neck ever since. So he posted in Newsweek an opinion piece titled "Oakland City Council's Bootlicking for Hamas. This is your brain on woke progressivism." Now I'm going to do a special report or a special response to this opinion piece, so look for that coming soon. I will go ahead, I will upload that video response that I do to this opinion that Mr. Seneca Scott published on next week. So look for that. So this thing with Hamas and Israel has blown completely out of proportion here in the United States. And what I can't understand is that why people are not as outraged when African American so-called Black people here in the land stand up in opposition to police violence and violation of our civil rights, violation of our human rights. No one is coming to back for us the way that they're standing up in city council meetings and protesting in the street, like, you know, just for people that are way thousands of miles away. Not saying that their lives are insequential, but what I am saying is that they need to keep that same energy for all acts of inhumane behavior. And that's just my take on that. So what else I got for y'all? Of course, you know that, let me say this. If you haven't heard, the so-called COVID has another variant that's coming out and is now affecting many states across the United States. And then coincidentally, Joe Biden has a plan to fix the economy. And guess what his plan includes? So the council will announce 30 actions to increase investment in U.S. medicines and medical supplies manufacturing, as well as other industrial supply chains that have been profoundly disrupted by COVID-19, according to the White House. Disruption in the U.S. supply chains contributed to higher inflation and a higher cost of living, squeezing consumers and proving a political headache for the Biden administration. So now his plan is, as a response to these troubles, the Biden will appeal to the Defense Production Act, originally passed in 1950, to give the Department of Health and Human Services authorization to enable investments in essential medicines according to a statement by the White House. That's essential medicines such as the vaccination, right? So they're going to start ramping up again, people having to, or encouraging people to take the vaccination, because now we got this new variant out, and it's sort of like pneumonia, but it sort of looks like the flu, but it's a new COVID variant. Man, I can't make this stuff up. All while he's doing medical countermeasures to prevent and to say supplies to prevent, diagnose, and treat any disease that may come in a war-related context, but it chemical, biological, be it chemical, biological, or nuclear. So is there something else besides this new COVID variant that's sweeping across the nation that he's preparing for? Are we going to have a biomedical war put on the Americans here, a plague, a biomedical plague that we need to be aware of, that he's not telling us, but he's definitely doing what countermeasures to prevent it from taking control and crippling the economy even more so? I don't understand how investing in the medical field is going to boost the economy. I just really don't get the connection, but we're going to let him do that. So time for a little commercial break. I want to say happy belated birthday to Grandmaster Jay. And also would like to say congratulations on achieving your doctorate of humanities. It says here, the Grandmaster J. John Fitzgerald Johnson has recently been awarded by the Sacramento Theological Seminary and Bible College with the Doctorate of Humanities degree. So now he's Dr. John Fitzgerald Johnson, right in time for his birthday. So we say salute, sir. Thank you for your service, and congratulations and happy belated birthday. Coincidentally, they were doing a fundraiser, $60 fundraiser. Donate to his GoFundMe for his legal defense. I believe he is he's on appeal. He has appealed, and his appeal case should be coming up real soon. So go ahead and make that $60 birthday gift to Grandmaster Jay if you feel so compelled to do so. So another commercial break. I want to say shout out to Cult Figure TV News. This channel is a fairly new channel, and it has already amassed 273 subscribers with only 33 videos. He's getting a lot of views. He's fairly new, just came on the scene in November 3rd on this particular channel, and it was brought to my attention by someone on IG. They DM'd me and told me to take a look at it, and I did watch the videos, a couple of the videos. The gentleman is very nice with his research and bringing up videos from the past and connecting the dots to what's going on in the future. So if you haven't subscribed, go on over to Cult Figure TV News, and that is my social media highlight person of the day. Cult Figure TV News, subscribe to the channel. So let's talk about Steve Harvey. So it says here, activist S.C. Berry seeks federal investigation of Steve Harvey alleges gang stalking and bullying. What? Let's get into that. Some things I just can't believe sometimes. Okay, it says here, Berry says that many his victims have been denied due process because records were sealed with allegations of fraud, child abuse, and blackmail during the years starting in 2013 until the present. In one case derived from Collins County in McKinney, Texas, under the jurisdiction of Judge Angela Tucker, she says that the judge appears to have participated in helping commit fraud. Berry, along with NAACP leaders Dr. Lily Coley and Daniel Brown, and also members of the Black Panther Party, are now asking for a federal investigation on all parties involved in the conspiracy against activist Berry in the state of California case. It says here, According to the document presented by Steve Harvey's attorney, Bobby Edmond, 11 judges have signed an arrest warrant to silence activist Barry in California. She comments, "This is clearly unheard of. This is a modern day lynching." Judge Angela Tucker of the 19th precinct was the main judge pertaining to the case, and Barry alleges that her district court allowed fraud upon the courts for Steve Harvey to take place over a decade ago. She also alleges that his attorney also committed collusion by continuing to help harass her for reporting and filing complaints of child abuse, blackmail, and fraud against Steve Harvey. Barry comments, "Steve Harvey is a natural-born liar. He lied to the media in 2013 when he said that I was a conspirator and extortionist and with no tangible evidence. There is concrete proof that Steve Harvey has made several violent video threats via text messages and phone calls from burner phones." She continues, "Steve Harvey has not acted like a man. He has mistreated women for years and then covered up his lies through deception. I'm asking the public to help us stop Steve Harvey in his courtroom corruption against Black women and others who deserve the right of justice." So in 2020, Essie Bessie was reportedly entered into a program called the Safe at Home Program for victims of domestic violence and stalking, a program that was reportedly developed and created by Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, to protect victims against crimes of stalking. She says that she is still in the program right now. She says that no one can enter this program without having concrete proof about the predator, and that all of her evidence and documents prove that Steve Harvey himself was a predator. The evidence she surrendered to the program included videos, threats, 2,000 text messages from burner phones, and also police reports. You can read more about this story on newsfactsnc.net. Baby Steve Harvey, it seems like he is a mess. He on Family Feud, he looks so docile and humble, but he allegedly sent 2,000 text messages threatening this woman to drop charges against him for child abuse. And also, she was in a place for domestic violence. So was he violent towards her, or he just threatened her? Wow, threatened her with bodily harm. I guess allegedly, gang stalking and bullying. Well, we're gonna watch this case and see how that turns out, because guess what, Steve Harvey? As if you didn't have enough troubles in your financial life, now you got this woman saying that you're a stalker. Unbelievable, family. So here is my Black excellence story for the week. Well, actually, I have two Black excellence stories for this week. But the first is 21-year-old Black woman makes history, opens homeless shelter in Los Angeles. It says here that Miriam Harrigot, an African-American woman from Los Angeles, let me show her picture again, who just turned 21 years old, has successfully converted an abandoned church into a homeless shelter. She is possibly the youngest Black woman to ever open a shelter in the state of California. She said, "It feels good to be able to provide people a sense of humanity, because the world just lacks it. You know, so much so. It's good to be the change you want to see," Miriam told Fox LA. Following the shelter's renovation, Miriam launched the PAC project, which stands for People Advocating Community Kinship. She said that there are a group of entrepreneurs, creatives, and other youth from South Central that aims to provide food, housing, and educational programs to those who are homeless and at promise kids. Every month, the PAC project goes to Skid Row to serve up hot meals for the homeless, calling it Feed the Homies. It's a small but impactful way to make a difference and spread some kindness. Be sure to follow her organization on Instagram at OKMari and at the PAC Project org. Again, follow her on Instagram at OKMari and at the PAC Project org. So that is my first Black excellence story. Congratulations to her. And at 21 years old, she's an example of how you can make a difference in your own capacity in your community to help change lives, to add some positivity to somebody else's life, right? Do something for someone else and it's going to make you feel so good inside. And last but not least, my last Black excellence story for this week is Deion Sanders. He is Sports Illustrated 2023 Sports Person of the Year. In less than a year, Coach Prime has not only transformed a moribund Colorado football program, he has also breathed fresh life into a campus and transformed a community. Now, Deion had a lot of haters from people saying, oh, he shouldn't have left Jackson State to go to a white school such as Colorado. But what they fail to tell you is that when he left, he took a lot of Black players and a lot of Black coaches. And coincidentally, a lot of Black businesses have started to open up in Colorado. So their economy is booming, all thanks to Coach Prime. The photo shoot was progressing the way they often do, becoming a war of wills, pitting the perfectionist with the camera and highlighting the smoke machine against the impatient subjects arrayed in front of them. Between poses, Deion Sanders was getting fidgety. So they talks about his day there with Sports Illustrated and receiving this award. So he said one more shot turned into two with a change of backdrop. Sanders paced between the shutter clicks and strobe lights, talking ball with the visitor, fretting about the tight turnaround for a Friday road game. At that point, the Buffaloes were 4-6. At that point, they were 4-6 and had lost 4 straight games in the rugged Pac-12. So as y'all know that I believe they finished the season at 4-8 or something like that, and they did not move on to any bowl games did not go on to the championship. But like I said in my NFNC sports section, he won. They're winning. They're still winning, even though they didn't win on the field. They're still winning as a community, as a team, as far as their camaraderie together. And Coach Prime is a breath of fresh air to that community, and it's helping to diversify Colorado, which was used to be seen as a predominantly Black institution. Now with Coach Prime there, he's encouraging a lot of African American, so-called Black people to attend the college, to invest in the community, and I think that's a good thing. To salute to Coach Prime. I'm proud of him. He made Sports Illustrated Person of the Week. Now, I have to say, I want to thank everyone that is listening to me right now. Shouts out to those of you that's in the chat. Lisa Jackson, shout out to you for the $10 donation, my sister. We really appreciate you tuning in and contributing to our great work. I also want to invite you all to go over to Cody Speaks at 7:00. I am going to be talking about the video that was circulating, that has been circulating on YouTube from Mr. Dear Brother Go Black to Africa. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, you need to subscribe to his channel. This brother has been visited almost all the countries on the continent of Africa, and knows the diversity of the different tribal people there, our kinfolk there, and he brings out some very important points for us here in diaspora to consider in regards to, should we move to Africa or should we move to Africa? He has great insights. But on yesterday, he put out a video and it was entitled Bishop Nathaniel Captured. For those of you who don't know, Bishop Nathaniel is the leader of the Israel United in Christ, also known as IUIC. And so he says, Bishop and Daniel captured. Question: what will IUIC do? And it's a message from Go Black to Africa. And so tonight at 7 o'clock at a Cody Speaks on YouTube, I'm going, and also on Major TV is going to be broadcasting there too on Major TV. Let's talk. We're going to open up the phone lines and let you all come in and chime in after we watch the video and give your opinion on what should we do, who you with, and where are the Black militias? Where are the Hebrew Israelites that's out there, you know, touting that we're the people, but how do we organize? And what happens when one of our leaders are taken out for, you know, as a result of assassination or even in prison, such as Grandmaster Jay, right? Such as Otho Wallace, right? So we asking the questions, and I'm inviting all the Black gun clubs. And if you know someone, you know, let them know that we're going to go live at 7 o'clock. That's 7 o'clock Central Time, to discuss these issues. Like this is if Go Back to Africa, is he going crazy for even asking the question? What happens when one of our leaders are captured? What happens to the rest of the organizations? Do we just fall back and wait until they're released, or do we move forward with the plan that they set forward? Or can we just come up with something else and still have the same goal in mind? We're going to discuss that tonight at 7 o'clock, my friends. Again, as on the Cody Speaks YouTube channel and also on Major TV. Let's talk. If you haven't already subscribed to the website newsfactsnc.net, please do so. You'll be able to see all the latest news stories that we publish on a daily basis. And so if you want to stay in the know and learn more about the topics that stories and topics I talked about today, they're all here on the website. And it's for you to share, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing. And as usual, if you have a story that you want me to share, let me know in the comment section. Don't be afraid to email us at newsfactsc@gmail.com. So I look forward to seeing all of you at 7 o'clock and hearing your opinion on how we move forward without our leaders. In the event that any event that we're forced to organize, who will step up to help lead us? Or should we have several leaders? These are the questions that we're going to be asking and discussing tonight on Cody Speaks and Major TV. Let's talk. So as usual, I love you all with the love of Yahuwah. Please don't forget to donate to Otho.org. Otho.org. He is appealing his case as well. He still needs your help. They're planning a big celebration, winter celebration on December 12th. So be on the lookout for that notice as well. I am Okoti Tamor. This has been News Facts and Comments Sunday Rap Session. And that's a wrap.
For the money, you know what it is. 2 for the show, yeah, we shut it down. 3 just to make sure you ready. 4, let them know that we run this town. 1 for the money, you know what it is. 2 for the show, yeah, we shut it down. 3 just to make sure you ready. 4, let them know that we run. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are now tuned in to the greatest. The greatest of all time. The greatest of all time. I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better. 1 for the money, you know what it is. 2 for the show, yeah, we shut it down. 3 just to make sure you ready. 4 4, let them know that we run this town. 1 for the money, you know what it is. 2 for the show, yeah, we shut it down. 3 just to make sure you ready.